Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with me with Vermont Sun and Shade. I appreciate you being with me this morning. So, I wanted to do a few updates because I was just looking them up and I wanted to share with you. I'm going to do a Nancy Guthrie update separate from this one because there's a number of things going on with that case. And so we're going to keep that separate. We're going to update Nancy Guthrie and William McCaslin at the same time and in the same video. So, good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day. I know that it was yesterday, but and let me tell you, we had some seriously cold wind chills. It was super windy. It was snowing. It was dark. Today we have some sun, but it's still really cold. And when I say cold, I'm talking back down into the teens. So meanwhile, they're getting 100 degrees over in Texas. Um, Neither of those temperatures are good. Anyway, the bears are waking up. Now, this article is by the Vermont Fish and Wildlife, and it was published just on the 16th. And I just wanted to review it really quickly with you for those of you who are not familiar if you're new to Vermont and you're just not really familiar with the idea of a bear coming in your yard. Can I just tell you, it doesn't matter if you're near what you might consider a city street or in the town streets. The bears will wander and they will follow the scent of food. That's a lot of times what's happening when they wake up. But the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department is receiving reports that the bears are coming out of their dens, and they're urging Vermonters to remove the bird feeders and take additional steps to prevent conflict. Because the bears, guys, they're just looking for food. Um, do not wait to take the bird feeders down and bear proof your yard. Um, and it says you need to act now to head off the bear conflicts over the spring and summer. Even though it's still super cold, the sun is high, the sun is shining, and where it's shining, it is a little bit warmer, guys, and the bears feel that. They start to get warm in the dens. So even if you've had never had a bear visit in your yard, and I want to add to that, or you don't think you're going to have a bear visit because maybe you're on a main street or you think it's a main street. Bears go to the main streets, guys, or what's considered the main routes here in Vermont. Bear incidents have been on the rise in the past several years. The officials believe the trend is partly due to an abundant black bear population learning to associate people and food over generations. I totally disagree with that. It's not because of that. It is because over generations the wildlife gets smarter and actually learn to stay away from the predators or people who can kill them. With the shotguns, they stay away from that. I think what it is there's been so much construction and buildings and apartments and stores going up in these places that the bears used to live. That is a significant factor. So they're not talking about that, but it truly is. Even in a steady increase in number of bears harvested by hunters in the recent years, including harvests exceeding 1,000 bears. You see what I'm saying? They've unalived 1,000 bears between 2024 and 2025. A bear isn't going to run to the gun. They are smart. They run away from it. They pick up a scent of a human and they go away. The only ones that are going to come close are the ones who are really hungry and they're following the food scent. Um, so, yeah, in the last 5 years, they've come closer and closer. Shorter winters also mean that the bears are emerging from their dens earlier in the spring. This year was not a short winter by any means. It started pretty well on point for Vermont. It started um, pretty much in November. No, by November 1st is usually a winter. And it's not shaken down too easily either because we're here in March and it's in the teens today. So it may go up to 20 something, 29 or 28. But preventing bears from having access to human related food is key to you being safe on coexisting with these very intelligent animals that come in. Bears can be found in every corner of Vermont other than the Champlain Islands. Put bluntly, most Vermonters live in bear country. And that's what they say. If you live in Vermont, you live in a park, you live in the wilderness, you live in a hiking trail. Take down the bird feeders, store garbage in a bear resistant containers or structures, which I really don't know what's bear resistant because maybe if it has a lock or a clip on it. And trash cans are not enough. So I'm going to tell you something. Hi, Gold. Here in Vermont, they're talking about everything being locked down. Guess what? Do you know these apartment buildings, and there's so many of them now in Vermont? Guess what? They all have the the dumpsters are wide open. The crows do not look for feeders, they're looking for the dumpsters. I'm telling you, I easily could look out my window any morning and see a black bear. Totally. I expect to see one soon because the dumpsters that are up for all in the parking lot areas in the stores, nearby stores, they all have dumpsters, guys. The apartments, the businesses, do you think that they're locked? No, 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 no. If they're locked, there might be one or two of them locked. Most of them are wide open. Okay. So it says keep an electric fence. If you have like chickens and you have a little farm, have an electric fence to deter the bears. It's if you do composting, follow the instruction for the composting, and they have a special website. If you go to Vermont Fish and Wildlife website, they'll redirect you to a website that tells you how to do the composting. Um, Listen to what this just said. You know what I was just saying? All the dumpsters are open. Look what it says. Request a bear resistant dumpster from your waste hauler. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it would be great. And they do need to be careful if they're, if these guys are kind of, what do they do? They attach the dumpster to the truck and then lift it up. They need to be careful if there's a bear in there or not. Nowadays, right now, this next month especially. And if they're getting out of their truck, these guys, they need to be super careful. If you're going to the dumpster, guys, be careful. So it says to request a bear resistant dumpster. So I don't know what that looks like. I haven't seen any of those in Vermont. There must be some. Feed your pet indoors. A lot of people in Vermont, they'll put their the dog food and cat food out on their porch, whether they're in apartments or not. You don't have to have a house to do that in Vermont. There's animals all over the place here, and they like their pet to be able to eat outside, and so that's just a common thing in Vermont. But this is saying feed them indoors, okay? That actually your cat or dog, they're just happy getting fed, guys. Okay. Never feed the bears. It's totally illegal. It's very dangerous. I had a friend of mine, I still can't get over it. I haven't seen her in over 30 years, but it's still embedded in my mind. how she told me one day she went on a walk on the trail with her teeny tiny, all our kids were teeny, really young kids, toddlers. And she went walking on the trail and they bumped into some baby bears and she fed them the lunch. Can you imagine if the mother bear must have just in those minutes not been, yeah, that would have been absolutely tragic. It would have. Mother bears, they do not care if you're a baby bears. They do not want their baby bears to be associating with strangers. Trust me, it's a bad idea. Do not feed, as cute as those baby bears are, do not feed them. Deep snow may delay some of the bears from coming out of the dens. Like I said, today it was like 14 degrees last night. It's like 20 something today. But in mid-March, it is the time that Vermonters prepare for the early risers and take down the bird feeders, make sure the garbage is secure, and protect your backyard chickens with the electric fence. Okay, so that's what's going on with the bears, guys. And so I wanted to update you on that if you're not familiar. And so, if you see a bear, if a bear comes up close to your porch or your deck or something, you don't need to run outside and start waving. I've seen people do that too in Vermont over the years. They actually run outside. The bear is outside your house. And if it's just kind of walking, let it go. It will keep walking. You don't need to go outside and scream at it because you never know if that bear's agitated or hungry. It might just decide to lash out. And all for the bear, it takes a few steps. For you, it would be, you know, 6, 7 steps to its one. So you would not have a chance there. Okay, now the other update I want to go over is I was looking up, we were talking about the pit bull attacking, unfortunately, a member in the household in Essex, Vermont, and unaliving that person. Um, you can imagine how traumatized the owner was, okay, of the pit bull, of that whole thing, just trauma. And you think about what they could have done better, and I think the very least thing they could have done from the previous attack of the pit bull in Essex, Vermont, had previously attacked a delivery guy, and it was a vicious attack. And out of that meeting came the fact that, oh, put a muzzle on him. Even with the consultant, which we read through the article here, there was a behavior consultant who said the dog is absolutely dangerous. So, I was thinking that it's like, what could they have done to kind of ease into figuring out if that dog at that time needed to be euthanized? And I would say to at least have taken the dog into the Humane Society for more study, for more of a behavior watch, and more of a consultation with the owner, and to hold that dog until they could be going back and forth with the owner if that dog was safe. Because that gives the owner a chance to really come to grips that the dog isn't safe. And maybe this last person, it could have been avoidable. But case in fact, it happened. So I looked up, I wanted to look up an update on that particular case. And this is what I got, guys, instead. And it's an AI review, and I want to read it. It's really short, but it's pretty astounding. Between 2025 and 2026, there's a list here that highlights, and it doesn't even include Vermont, and it does not include the lady that I read about last night on Newsbreak. And I want to say it was North or South Carolina, I believe, um, that got attacked by 3 pit bulls. And I'm not coming down on pit bulls, guys. The pit bull characteristic that is different from a regular dog is their tenacity. Okay? And they do need attention like every day. Of course, dogs do need attention every day. Now, there's certain breeds that can breeze through that, and certain breeds can't. And there's other breeds you could put in that category that are tenacious, not just a pit bull. I would put boxers in that category, guys. I would. And there's some other dogs I'd put in that category. But let's say here, okay, recently there have been severe and fatal pit bull attacks between 2025 and 2026. These are a few of them. February 2026 in Utah, a woman suffered severe hand injuries trying to save her dog from a fatal attack by another dog at a park. So dogs got into a dog fight. And the scenarios on here are super interesting because if you think you're going to go to, walk up the street without your dog on a leash and you think it's going to be okay, you're going by luck only because some dogs don't like each other, okay? Another attack, November 2025, Texas. A 22-year-old dog sitter was unalived by 3 pit bulls she was caring for. Okay, I remember reading this, and they're not telling the whole, this is a one-liner. I gotta tell you the story, because I read it. This woman, what happened is, she had her little child with her, and they went around in the back of the house, outside of the house, to pet some puppies that the dog had had. And what happened is these other dogs, the mother dog, much like bears, guys, but the mother dog and the 2 other pit bulls went after this woman, and I guess they were initially like threatening the child, and she went to protect her child, which she did, but the 3 pit bulls unalived her. I read that story. That was, yes, very recent. In October 2025, Texas, Ohio, a Lake Worth woman was hospitalized with a broken arm and dislocated fingers. In Ohio, a woman was mauled and unalived in her garden by the neighbor's dogs. Obviously, they didn't have the dogs on a leash. This is why in Vermont, you've got to contain, look, Vermont is vast and full of wildlife. So they're very in tune to making sure that your pets are safe. So in Vermont, you've got to have a fence. If, like, you're letting your dog free, you will see dogs in their yards free, running free. But you will also see a pretty darn good hefty fence up. They have to be fenced. Now, if you have them on a leash, you don't have to have a fence. But apparently, somebody let their dogs out loose. Now, in August 2025 in California, a woman was unalived. These are reported incidents, guys, okay? She was unalived and another injured in the suspect pit bull. These are all pit bulls. Were mauling near a homeless encampment. So the woman was unalived there. April 2025 in Texas, a Houston woman was attacked in her own front yard, um, in the chest. So, and then, so I know about that because I was, as a little tiny kid, I was attacked by a German Shepherd dog, and her name was Sheba. I'll never forget that. You don't forget. Okay, that dog that I was attacked by was on a leash, and I walked too close. I was like 4 years old. Three, I think. September 2025 in Florida, a 70-year-old woman was bit by a pit bull, in the neck. No, listen to this. I read that incorrectly. Listen to this. A 70-year-old woman had to bite a pit bull in the neck to stop it from killing her dog. So that's an interesting way to go. I guess, she figured that she just did what she had to do at the moment. So, key safety and legal takeaways. Avoid intervening. Experts warn, excuse me, guys. Thank you for having coffee with me, by the way. So, this is all learning. We're learning information here on how to be safer. So, experts warn against getting in the middle of a dog fight, which often leads to severe injury to humans because they get mixed up, guys. They're fighting. You see a lot of people, and I know when I was way younger, I had come upon, either visiting or something, some dog fights. And what you do is you throw water on the dogs. And a lot of times it does work. But they say don't get in between the dogs. So it's not telling you how to break up the dog fight. I'm going to look that up in a moment because now I'm curious what they think. Dangerous dog laws. Attacks often involve dogs with previous, sometimes documented aggressive behavior that were not properly secured, much like in the one in Essex, Vermont, most recently. Accountability. Survivors and family members are seeking stricter consequences for owners of dogs that commit fatal or severe attacks. Now that this list was of pit bulls, it doesn't have to be pit bulls. Let's see here. I just want to see what it says. And we're going to look up other dogs here in a moment. So the best way to break up a dog fight is the wheelbarrow effect. That's two people where each person grabs the dog's hind legs, lifts and pulls them backwards in a circle to prevent them from turning and biting. Huh. I've never seen that done. Another way is distract them with loud noises like banging pots together, like near them, ring, air horn, water. That's the one that I have always used, like in my younger days when we had dogs and my neighbors had dogs, and if there was any altercation or nervousness, you throw water to distract them. Barriers. Slide a trash can lid, plywood, or chair between them. Visual distraction. Throw a large blanket, or coat over the dogs. Each dog, you would do that separately. Your dog and the other person would do for their dog. If a dog is latched on, restricting airflow. Oh, goodness. Okay. At the last resort, using a leash or collar to lift the rear collar of the attacker, like choke method, can make them release, but carries a high risk of biting. And then a break stick, the wooden wedge used to safely pry jaws apart by professionals. So I guess, look, 911, if you think there's something going on you can't handle, break it up, to break it up. And the other thing is the woman, let me see if I can find this woman who was, I want to say it was North Carolina. North Carolina, an hour ago. Owner charged after 3 dogs disfigure a woman. This is in the Charlotte Observer in North Carolina. This came up last night when I was looking up the update for the Pitbull. I believe that's what these were. Let's read it. 3 dogs, um, sorry guys. 3 dogs seriously attack a woman in North Carolina. Oh, in her yard. I don't think that was the same article, but the attack involved, yes, this is the same article. The attack involved 3 free-roaming pit bulls that belonged to 31-year-old Quentin Sproul of Henderson. Sproul is accused of knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully allowing the dogs to enter the woman's property and attack her. Can you believe this, guys? And causing disfigurement to the victim's body. It happened March 7th, but the arrest was not made until March 16th. The victim, it was 67-year-old, oh man, neighbor, and the 3 dogs tore off part of her ear. Is charged with 3 misdemeanor counts of penalty for attacks by dangerous dogs. The charges applied in cases where a dangerous dog attacks someone. Okay. Henderson is about 45 minutes downtown from Raleigh. But that's all it gives. It doesn't say anything else. It's in the Charlotte Observer. So you can look that up and read the article. The woman was 67 years old. She lived. But you see how serious that is? Her ear. So that's her cranial area. So it's like, God bless her soul that she survived that. The article is Woman Disfigured After Man Willfully Allows 3 dogs to attack. So this is what I would say. She probably didn't see these dogs because, look, if you know somebody, I kind of get the feeling that if he willfully was letting these dogs loose, this can't be the first time that they were loose. He must have been letting them loose. If you see someone letting their dogs loose, or if it's a dog that you suspect is pretty unsafe, and they keep going out with it with no leash, thinking, oh, the dog's just fine. Well, the dog is fine, but if the dog is not fine with another dog, or for some reason a human being, I'm going to tell you something about dogs, guys. I learned this a long time ago. I have researched. Sometimes they get taken by surprise. For example, if somebody comes walking up behind you and your dog, and you're walking down the street with your dog, I'm not saying because the person is walking up behind the dog hears the person coming. But you know what happens sometimes? When the dog sees visually, like if it's somebody, for example, I know this for a fact because we had gotten this is so many years ago, we had to actually give this dog away to someone who could give it tons of attention because we got it as a puppy. This dog inherently kept going like barky, barky, barky as a puppy towards people with backpacks. It was in its DNA. So we gave it to somebody, a couple who could give it a lot of attention because we also had other animals. And at that time, my kids were very small. And I knew there was something very different about this dog because why would it bark at people with backpacks? It was very weird. And it was a purebred, and it was raised. It was not a rescue, guys. So it was something in that dog. It doesn't have to be, you know, a rescue or something wrong with the dog. Like, it could just be born that way. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself. And it is very difficult, but you've got to be honest with yourself when you get an animal, when you get a pet. There could be something amiss that you cannot handle. And then you've got to find someone who can, or get consultation from the vet, because they will always steer you the right way. So anyway, that's an update on the pit bulls. Now, before we get to the Huskies here in Vermont, I just want to look up one more thing here. Because these dogs do give me the willies, the Mastiffs. Let's see. Okay, I just want to give you this dog bite statistics by breed and fatal. I just want to look at this. Okay, dog bites are they are serious and yet misunderstood. This is by a an attorney, Munge and Associate. I just kind of want to get some facts here from his page. Okay, guys, listen to this. I should get another coffee, but I'll do that for the next video. Check this out. This is by, the site is called Because You Want to Win. It's by an attorney.com. Munge is his name. But look, 4.5 million dog bites occur annually in the United States. That's 12,000 dog bites a day, or every 7 seconds. Is that enough to put your dog on a leash? Around me first, guys. You've got to. Roughly 800, because they'll bite even on the leash, like I said. When I was a tot, I got bit right in the chest by a German Shepherd, ended up in the hospital. Okay, roughly 885,000 people seek medical care each year because of dog bites. Okay, look, 2.5% of the emergency patients are hospitalized, total around 9 to 10,000 per year. So these are from dog bites. The average hospitalization cost for a dog bite is $18,200. It's almost $20,000, guys. 81% of these bites, 81% require no care. But guess what? Yet more than 850,000 victims each year still need treatment for an infection or reconstructive repair. So that means 29% of these people, 20%, 19%, whatever, close enough, 20%, it's fatal. Between 2010 and 2023, there's at least 593 fatal dog bites, an average of 30 to 40 deaths or unalivements per year. That's way too much for a pet dog, and that's happening. Pit bulls and Rottweilers were involved in the majority. They're just given the facts, guys. This doesn't mean that you're a pit bull or Rottweiler. They're tenacious. Now, the ones that are all around me are very friendly. Like, they have a big smile on their face, and their owners are walking them, and they kind of look at me. They're friendly. They're happy, but that's because their owners love them and give them lots of attention. And if you're going to have a pit bull, they need lots of attention, and so do Rottweilers. I call them Mastiffs, but I wonder if they're the same as Mastiffs And Rottweilers, I guess, but Mastiffs, I believe the heads are bigger. I think they're almost bigger than a human. We're going to cover them one day too. Excuse me. Children under 5 and adults over 65 are the highest fatality risk, accounting for most of the unalivements between 2010 and 2023. So I totally believe that because look, like I said, I was attacked when I was a tot. I can still remember the dog coming at me, and that's all I remember. And then I passed out, I guess. You figure a teeny tiny little kid, you got to figure a dog, guys. When they hear, there's a theory, it's a proven theory. It's a fact, I guess. When a child cries, a dog a dog or even wildlife can misinterpret that as a child being in suffering. And you're dealing with an animal thinking, not your thinking. So if a child is crying, sometimes the dog will accidentally go after them. That's one that's one um, misunderstanding that can occur between the animal world and human world. And you figure someone over 65 is might seem frail to a dog, and for some reason they, in their animal thinking, go after that person. In California, 63 unalivements. In Texas, 54 unalivements lead to the nation in fatal attacks. So it's California and Texas. Guess what? They're letting their dogs run. That's what's going on there. Followed by Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. They have the most unalivement. Look, guys, that's a lot. 63 in California and 54 in Texas. I think they're talking about the year. I mean, if there's an attack every 7 seconds and hundreds and thousands of people are being attacked, because we read the statistics up here, 885,000 people, are looking for medical treatment, and almost 400,000 are emergency room visits. Okay. Globally, dogs cause 25 to 35,000 human unalivements annually. That's globally. That's an incredible amount. I mean, I don't know if that's more than heart attacks. I gotta look this up. Let's look up how many heart attacks a year. I'm sorry. I'm just curious. I just want to compare it for a moment. Okay, heart attacks. Estimate 17. Wow, I didn't know we were going to get into this. This is globally, so no. The numbers don't compare, but still. 20.5 million people unalive a year from heart attacks, guys. That's nuts. Okay, that's crazy. Globally, a year on average. Okay, so look. So globally, dogs cause 25 to 35,000 human unalivements annually. Mostly, oh, check that out, from rabies transmission, making them third deadliest animal worldwide. I was thinking that. I wonder if that guy's dog in Essex had some form of rabies. I was thinking that. I wonder if I hope they did a blood test. The strongest, excuse me, the strongest verified bite force among domestic dogs is 328 psi Rottweiler. That's a big dog, guys. Far below viral claims of 700 psi for the Kangal dog. That's the Australian dog I think they're talking about. Dog bite insurance claims 1.57 billion in 2024. Do you think the insurance company is going to have something to say about this, people? That's a lot of money to be paying out. You can bet they're studying that because you got to tighten up on it, not just because of the insurance money. You got to tighten up on it to keep people safe. We just read the statistics here. Tiny little kids under 5 years old are susceptible to being attacked by a dog. Put your dog on a leash and get a dog you can handle. I have seen people with dogs, if the dog did get for some reason out of control, which could happen, it is a fact, they couldn't handle that dog. There's no way. Be able to handle your dog. So dog bite insurance comes, yeah, 1.57 billion. Okay, that's in 2024. And then 22,658 claims. Jeez, that's crazy. California, Florida, Texas. California, free thinkers. Texas, I'm going to do what I want. Vermonters say, I'm going to do what I want to. I'm a Vermonter. But you know what? The Vermonters, especially the old timers, they are wise beyond wise. They know they're not going to put anybody in danger just because they want to, okay? That's not okay. Because look, California, Florida, Texas have the highest number of the dog attacks and insurance claims. Rural areas experience 4 times higher dog bite insurance rates. Okay. I'm not saying those states are purposely letting their dogs, but I'm just saying the overall general kind of message that we get from those states is that. So here we go. This is a lawyer's page, so we're getting more statistics. Total fatalities in between 2010 and 2023 in just the United States was 593 unalivements. Pit bulls involved in pit bulls involved in 406 of those unalivements. That's 68%, guys. Rottweilers linked to 26 unalivements. Mixed breeds accounted for 12 of those unalivements. Other breed occasionally. So this is why people are talking a lot about the pit bull, because look, they're responsible for almost 70% of the unalivements. So I guess discussions are warranted. It doesn't mean that people are judging your dog. Let people talk, let people ask the question, whatever it is, and have that civil conversation for safety. German Shepherds, 8. Yeah, that one I believe. American Bulldogs, 6. I had an English Bulldog for 10 years. It was the kindest, sweetest, most adorable. But guess what, guys? A couple of months, and I didn't know the dog was sick. It didn't act sick. It ate. It looked fine. He acted okay, but there was one thing that changed. When he got in the car, he didn't want to sit in the back seat anymore. He wanted to sit in the front seat. And when I said, no, you got to sit in the back seat, his behavior was agitated, growly and agitated. Very different. That was my English Bulldog. 2 months later, it just dropped. Just keeled over. He must not have felt well, guys, is what I'm trying to say. So pay attention to your dog's behavior. Of course, I was much younger then, but I would get him to, nowadays, if that kept on, I totally, like if it got worse, I totally, would have brought him to the vet. But he was the sweetest, for 10 years, the sweetest, sweetest dog. He was in a parade. People loved him. People knew him. Mastiffs is the one I tell you that I'm nervous about. They're responsible for 3 of those unalivements of these almost 700 between 2010 and 23, so 13 years. Huskies, incredibly, are Huskies. There's one responsible for an unalivement. Okay. So, anyway, I wanted to go over that. The other thing I want to, so it's just like be really safe. Now, speaking of Huskies, being responsible for 1%. Now, what we're going to, this is going to bring us to an hour again, but guys, this is an article I really want to go over. This is the owner of 50 plus mistreated Huskies gives up legal custody. Now, I had said when we read this that I felt like there was somebody else responsible for these dogs and not the initial person who started to raise them. And I think I get that idea here. Let's read it. The owner of nearly 60 Huskies that were rescued in a barn in Hyde Park in Vermont has now legally surrendered custody of them, meaning that they can be rehomed. So there's going to be a lot of Huskies. And again, guys, I had an Alaskan Malamute. That was one of the first dogs we had when we had all our babies. You know, I'm talking when I was a kid myself, right, in my 20s. Look, the dog protected my children by howling if there was somebody near those children who shouldn't be. And there was a case where someone had come down into the complex that we lived in a car, all the way down a hill in a private parking lot, and was asking my tiny little kids what time it was, apparently. Guess what? I was watching out the window constantly because I was doing the dishes, but the dog howled, and I knew something was wrong. And even though I was watching, there could have been a 30-second thing where he grabbed one of my kids. I ran outside and I said, "What do you want?" And he said he was asking for the time. People do not drive their cars all the way down into a parking lot and ask for time. And if somebody asks you for time, someone asked me for the time the other day, and I immediately got suspicious because guess what? We all know the time. We have the phone. We have our cars that have clocks. We know the time. So, heads up. You have a Husky, they're going to protect your child. Trust me. But you have to be able to walk them a lot and to handle them. So there's going to be many Huskies in Vermont rehomed. According to ASPCA, the Huskies could have been living in unclean and crowded conditions without much food or water for quite some time, leading up to multiple organizations jumping in and helping. Many of them were on tethered chains, some were limited and not able to move around. This was a strong odor of ammonia. And the amount of coordination that went on to get them collected was admirable. Okay, let's go down here. The Lamoille County Sheriff's Department in the state attorney's office got word about these dogs. We read through that article, so we're just going to skip down a little bit. It can be really difficult in Vermont to actually organize a seizure because we have no municipal shelters or other holding facilities. That is no reason to hold off rescuing dogs. I'm sorry, it's not. It's like if you don't have the shelter, then you need to transport them out of state, people. I don't like reading that from authorities because they don't have shelter. Then find the shelter and get them out of the bad condition. And they potentially need to be held as evidence for several months. Then hold them elsewhere. Once getting all the legal components in place, the Sheriff's Department and about 40 ASPCA volunteers showed up to the barn. So this is, they're giving the road in this article. a barn on Cleveland Corners Road and took the dogs, bringing them to a cruelty recovery center. Oh, okay, that's what I said. In Columbus, Ohio. Okay, so they are out of state. So they didn't keep them in state. The original owner of the dogs, whose name is still being held um, for relinquishing legal ownership of them, could still face animal cruelty. But in the meantime, the ASPCA officials said they won't worry about caring for the Huskies and getting them ready. They will worry about caring for the Huskies and getting them ready for adoption. Now, some of the dogs did appear to be underweight and dehydrated, and we'll do all the medical exams. Okay, can I say something with that? My rescue, when I got a little rescue, they said that too. They did the medical exam. They do the medical exam. But guess what? You need to follow up, because these dogs, once they've been dehydrated and they're starving, they develop and can develop other issues, major issues, like diabetes. I'm just saying, that's what happened to my sweetheart dog. Anyway, securing the participation of the ASPCA was really important so that we could move ahead with it fairly quickly and get the animals to a better place. So my lot also said using ASPCA resources in this rescue likely saved Vermont taxpayers upwards $75,000. If the sheriff's department had gone ahead with the seizure themselves, they would have had to find somewhere to house the Huskies, with some likely needing thousands of dollars. It's all about the money, and that's the end of the article. Are you kidding me? When will we progress past the money thing? I get what they're saying, but maybe ASPCA is just readily available because that's what they do. Anyway, so I thought they were going to say something about how the situation occurred. And because I am not one to throw a judgment call out there haphazardly, I believe there's more to the story than we know. It could be something like the initial breeder got sick. Something occurred to these dogs to end up with no food and water in front of them. So I'm going to keep my eye on this, because it comes in my email. I do want to find out what happened. But the owner gave up their custody of them, which of course would make sense because they were, taken away. Okay, so with that, guys, that is in My Champlain Valley. That's a newspaper we have here, mychamplainvalley.com. If you want to read it, local news in Vermont. Owner of 50-plus mistreated Huskies gives up legal custody. And that's by Matt Holderman. So I'm going to take a break, make some coffee. I'm going to do a little update on Nancy Guthrie, because my goodness, guys, there's some people out there, they're saying flat out lies. I'm going to pull up one of the sites and I'm going to show it to you. I don't know what's going on with the reporting today, but it's kind of gone to a new level. So anyway, with that, I wish you love and light. I'll see you in the next one.